breathe. We might as well do the same intro as we did for the Wales-Fiji game for this one, because my goodness, do Fiji love an exciting game and leaving it right till the very last minute to have this game decided. What a game. Fiji taking this one 22 points to 15. I actually predicted Fiji to win this one when we did the big prediction video right before the tournament started. I changed my decision during the preview video because I was expecting Ben Donaldson to be kicking this game over. Fiji struggling a little bit with kicking options. But my God, Kuravali coming in for this team out of nowhere and just changing the entire way Fiji play. And what a game by them. Deserve to take this one to me. 22 points to 15. The game's just finished on my end, so we're going to have a run through of the game. Some thoughts, some highlights, all that fun stuff. Make sure you drop your thoughts on this game down in the comment section, because there is a lot to go over in this one and what this means for the World Cup going forward. So the first half, a brilliant first half by both teams. It's what we wanted to see. A really hard fought, just lads smashing into each other, absolutely gunning for it. Fiji on the front foot for most of that first half. 57% possession at halftime. I was quite surprised by 57. It felt like 70. It felt like loads more. They had the ball in hand so much, going for those massive carries, as we saw them in that Wales game, putting the other team under pressure. Australia put on the defensive as we expected this game to be. It was going to be a big test of how Australia coped in the defence. For the most part, the defence did hold up. It was more the discipline surrounding the defence. It's one thing to be able to commit all these tackles, stop Fiji from going forwards, but if you give penalties away while you're doing it, it doesn't really give you any sort of advantage. Fiji went in at half-time 12 points to 8, with all of the points coming through the boot of Kuravali, who came into this team. I said in the preview video, I didn't know much about him coming in. I was like, oh man, Lamani was so much better in terms of the kicking against Wales. I was worried how this was going to impact the team, but Kuravali for me could well have been man of the match. I thought he was absolutely superb. 4 kicks from 4 in that first half, giving them that 12-point lead. Australia, the only ones to get a try. Now Nikita Wase getting over for his try in the game. Very controversial. I mean, there was enough talking points around refereeing decisions during the Wales-Fiji game. I think there's more to talk about in this game. Andrew Brace, I've said it before, I don't like diving into referees and decisions and stuff. I do think Andrew Brace gets quite a lot wrong, or just very odd decision making. This try for Nikita Wase came off the back of a big turnover, 50-22 kick from Nick White, got them all the way up the field. Nikita Wase actually with very good game awareness, picked up the ball, realised no one else had touched it, chucked it in to Karevi, took it all the way up to the line, little pop pass, and Marky Mark finishes that one off for the try. But the turnover is where the big controversy was around this one. Richard Arnold on the ground, to me, immediately just got his hand and shoved the ball out. That's playing the ball on the ground. I wouldn't have let that play on. I'm surprised that didn't get picked up and be reviewed. Listen to the halftime commentary team as well. They seem to be in agreement with that. They said, oh, this was not allowed all day long. So that was a really weird decision by them. But the only try of that first half coming in from Australia is not what I expected to be saying from this game. Australia scoring the tries, Fiji scoring the penalties. I expected it to be completely the opposite way around going into this one. Fiji did have opportunities to get on that try scorer marker though. But the first one that was a little bit weird, Kuravali, again, as amazing as he was in this game, had an opportunity. I really thought for a breakaway try, they got given the advantage for a penalty. Then he played the ball into a player on the ground. It bounced back up, it all went backwards, he caught the ball and suddenly found himself in acres and acres of space charging for the post. And again, Andrew Brace called that one back, and I don't know why it was called back, because we see scrum halves all the time looking for that penalty, looking for that, chucking the ball out. There's a couple of people that are awesome, and Aaron Smith for New Zealand's a monster at it. As soon as someone is in the wrong position, just chuck the ball into them, get yourself a penalty. Sometimes referees say you were looking for it, in which case no penalty. But nothing was wrong. You're allowed to chuck the ball into a player and it all goes backwards. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I don't know why that warranted the penalty being over. I thought that was incredibly harsh and a little bit controversial, because Andrew Brace did not blow his whistle until Kuravali was through. He was already gone, and then he blew the whistle and brought it back. I think that was a big decision. I think he got that one wrong too. I don't think the Australian try should have stood. I think the Richard Arnold penalty on the ground should have come in. And I also think Kuravali should have been allowed away. And what different scoreline would that have ended up being as well? Fiji had a couple of other opportunities for some tries. It's one of the things we saw in the Wales game. They get themselves into these positions. They are on the front foot, and just these little errors let them down. Against Wales, it was, going over the try line, but dropping the ball over the try line. It was the pass out to Semi Radradra last week, didn't go to his hands and dropped the ball. Same thing in this game. Fiji on big, driving maul situations, trying to play the ball out the back, ball getting dropped. Bottia looked devastated when he dropped the ball in one of them, just not getting that final 10% correctly. And I think if they land this, they are really top competitors, because I think they probably lost about 2 try opportunities from small issues from them in that first half, as well as Kuravali's, disallowed try that could have been had he got through that line and maybe not got tackled along the way. And Australia with a bit of a lucky call, I think, on their end. But now Nikita Wase tried to stand. This game could have been 40 points to 10. This could have been an enormous score by the end of it. In the second half, though, is where this game really began to light up. Right, Josh Tuisova managing to quench the thirst for some Fijian tries coming in with a bit of a try from nothing. And this is one thing that Fiji got a lot better at, which I said in the preview video. I wanted to see Fiji try some different things rather than just go through the next carrier to the next guy. I wanted to see different plays from them, and there was a few more box kicks that worked well. Australia not doing particularly well in the aerial battle today. The box kick coming in, nobody caught it. Everyone let it bounce, and who's there but Tuisova to collect that one? And you're not stopping Tuisova from when you're in front of him most of the time, let alone trying to chase the man down. Ran over for a great try, and Kuravali again. What a conversion from him. What a little secret weapon Fiji have managed to slide into this team now, getting his conversion in the 44th minute to take Fiji to 19 points to 8, 11 points the deficit at that point. There was a bit of a blow to Fiji, though. Kuravali, just after taking that kick, there was the next phase of play that happened after the kickoff. Did look like he picked up his leg. I'm not sure if it was to his knee or to his ankle. It was something to do with his leg. He didn't look very comfortable on that at all, and took himself off the field. There was a couple of Fijian, maybe concerning injuries. We'll find more about that, as time progresses over the next week, I'm sure. But a couple of those that I think, big decisions, big players going off. Kuravali had to go off. Tuisova had to go off towards the end as well. And it's one of those things where those players obviously want to stay on the pitch. You could see them want to stay on. But this is about the team. It's not about the individual. And in other games where maybe you see players, I'm going to stay on, they all said, no, I picked up an injury. I'm not going to be able to play this as best I can. Get me off. Get someone else on. Lomani coming on. He was kicking not quite as good as Kuravali, but still got that penalty in the 66th minute to be able to spread that lead out just that little bit further to take Fiji to 22 points to 8. And it's not just the Fijian attack that was working well. Defensively, they seemed really sound today. They were really, really disciplined. Far fewer penalties than Australia were giving away. And the majority of the penalties actually given away were for the high tackle infringements, as opposed to the breakdown penalties, which is where Australia were getting pinged for. But defensively, I mean, they must have had probably a good sort of 15 minutes period between sort of 50 and 65 minutes where Australia began to gain some momentum in the game. They really got a foothold. They were really going on the attack. Fiji being put under the press, and they had to defend hard. Australia had a number of penalties throughout that, again, for those high tackles. Didn't take any of the 3 points. I thought maybe just to close it up. I mean, granted, you were, 14 points down on the board, but there was at least 3 or 4 penalties in there. That's 12 points. If you kick that over, you're back within 2. I'm surprised they didn't go for more kicks towards the post. They kept going to the corner, and the Fijian defensive maul was absolutely solid. Defensively in the line as well, massive collisions, massive tackles, what we expected from this game. But defensively, a couple of people to point out. Mata, Bottia, Tuisova, just in that defensive, not committing to the ruck at all. Take the collision, drop it down. If there's the first man that you think we can get a jackal penalty here, clamping on and just not letting go for dear life. Some superb turnovers, stopped Australia in all their trucks trying to get that momentum going. I thought it absolutely fantastic defensive set by all 3 of them. We did have an interesting decision made, which I think will be an interesting talking point. Nick White coming off in that 56th minute as well. I'm not sure what that decision was. Of course, going into the game, Australia lost Will Skelton. James Slipper had come off at this point, and then they took Nick White off, and it really felt like, I don't know, there was no standout player for me who was going to be leading this team. Nick White, up till then, I thought had actually been sort of controlling where Australia were playing. I feel like that was a weird decision. Maybe they just wanted a more attacking scrum half than what Nick White was bringing. But I think in terms of playing a Fiji team, sometimes just controlling the game and controlling the areas you wanted to play, it was clearly part of Eddie Jones's plan, because they kept giving the ball out to Jordan Petaia, who kept trying to kick it on, trying to pin Fiji back, and his kicks were all terrible, and weren't really allowing Australia to get any, foothold, but they were clearly trying to control the game. I don't know what that decision was to take Nick White off. I think that was probably a poor decision on Eddie Jones's part. The last 10 minutes, though, looked like maybe Australia were going to squeak back into it. Vunivalu getting his try off the back of a couple of on-the-bounce penalties. Australia moved up, got that 5-metre driving maul. Fiji stopping it well yet again, but just that splinter as it breaks off, and Vunivalu going over for his try in the 68th minute, converted by Ben Donaldson, took them to 15 points to 22, an important score difference, taking them within 7. Fiji managing to weather the storm, though, didn't concede any more points across that. You look at that, they only conceded that one score in the entirety of that second half. Superb from them. And then they went on the offensive. They tried to bring it up. They got all the way to the 79th minute. It looked like Fiji were going to go on to score. A single drop ball and that handling issue again. Australian line out, final opportunity to do something with it, and maybe the biggest Fijian scrum of the game, driving Australia back. Absolutely superb work from them, and managing to award themselves a penalty. A clever decision from Fiji to go for the 3 points. I was banging on my desk, go for the 3 points, because it's so important in this pool stage now, trying to knock Australia out of that losing bonus point. Unfortunately, Lomani's kick going wide again. His kicking wasn't up to the same standard as Kuravoli was. So the final score, 22 points to 15. Fiji win this one with 1 try. Australia scored 2. Not what I was expecting to say by the start of this game. Australia do come away with the losing bonus point in this one, which could become incredibly important, because Wales beat Fiji, so they've got 1 win. Fiji have beaten Australia, so they've got that 1 win. And then Australia will go on to play Wales next week. If Australia come away with a win with that, they've all got 1. Losing bonus points become vitally, vitally important. If Wales go on to win that one, Australia are in desperate trouble of potentially being knocked out of this World Cup in the pool stages. A couple of final points then. Josh Tuisova got man of the match, and I think deserved it. I think Kuravoli could have also put his name in there, but he got injured a little bit early on in that first half. Maybe they didn't think he played quite enough minutes. Tuisova had a superb defensive work. Bottia also worked hard all day long. I thought his name could have been in there. From an Australian standpoint, things were working well for them. They were getting things right. Nick Frost is a bit of an underlying threat, I think, for this Australian team. Very good in terms of the line-out. Got a number of good steals in the line-out today. And I think he'll probably be a real attacking weapon going up against Wales. The Wales line-out's still not as brilliant as we've seen it in history. So I think he'll be vitally important to Australia next week. Ben Donaldson still having a nice impact into this game, but just not as much as we saw him last week. We saw Carter Gordon go off, and they did the whole switching round of the team. I'm not really sure what difference that made. I know Vunivalu got that try at the end, but I feel like anyone in that maul was going to end up getting that try with the way it splintered. I don't think that's specifically because of him. I don't think that necessarily made Australia particularly enhance their game that much. But Fiji take this one. Fiji have a rest week next week as well, which gives them big time to recover. They've had their 2 biggest games, most likely, you'd say, in this Pool C already. They will go on to play Georgia on the 30th of September, and they'll be looking for big points in that game. Get those 4 tries, put yourself in the best possible position to qualify. But next week, after all the controversy we had from last week with the Wales-Fiji game, I can absolutely imagine next week we're going to be seeing a lot of Fijian players wanting to wear some Wales jerseys, because, my God, it's going to be a really, really big game for deciding this Pool C. Congratulations to Fiji on taking this one. Superb game overall. I thoroughly enjoyed it as a neutral. Like I said, drop down in the comment section your thoughts on this game, because there was so much to go over. I hope you've all enjoyed this one today, guys. I'll see you all next time. Bye bye.